This video corresponds with our homework about a 1 proportion z test. So we're going to do the full procedure of phantoms for this question. Here we go. A recent study concluded that 76% of teens use Instagram. So notice this is a percent. So this is a proportion question. So right away, I'm going to write PZ, proportions, we're going to use Z. This P is the true proportion of all teens who use Instagram based on the past. So that's the parameter, the true proportion of teens age 13 to 17 who use Instagram. Okay. So Joseph, he believes that the proportion is greater than that at his high school. And so do I, by the way. So that's going to be corresponding to his alternative hypothesis, okay? He would like to carry out a test, a significance test at the alpha equals 0.05 significance level. So that's going to go here where it says alpha level. Joseph selects a random sample of 50 students. That's going to be his sample size N, 50 students. And he finds that 41 out of 50 of them use Instagram. That is going to be X over N. So to get his P hat, we're going to divide 41 divided by 50, and we will get our sample proportion P hat. So the population of interest is who he took the sample from. So if you look after the word from, you'll see it says from his high school. So he took students from his high school. So the population of interest is all students at Joseph's high school. All right. So as we go, we're filling out our phantoms. So the first letter P stands for state the population of interest and the parameter of interest. We already did that. The step H stands for hypotheses. So we are going to state our null and our alternative hypothesis based on the question. So remember, it says from the past, the proportion of students advertised who use Instagram is 0.76. But Joseph thinks that it's more. So he's going to use still P, but a greater than sign here. So remember, the null is always an equal to sign. The alternative is the direction that you believe is true. Notice you still use P and P, that's the parameter. And then you still use 76, 76. It's just you choose a direction of what you think is the truth. So in words, this would say that the true proportion at Joseph School of students who use Instagram is like the national study, is at the 76%, which is the national study done. Okay, but the alternative is that the actual proportion at Joseph School is greater. All right, so once you have your two hypotheses, null and alternative, make sure you have them in both words and symbols. The words are helpful for when you get up to the conclusion step. You can refer back to your words. All right, so we're done with P, we're done with H. Now we're going to go to A, assumptions or conditions. We're going to check our assumptions, conditions, or rules of thumb. So the first one is it a simple random sample? It says he took a random sample, so that's good news. Of students from his school. All right, awesome. So that's met. Nice. Next one, 10 times n is less than the population of interest. That will allow us to do the standard deviation formula for p hat. So our sample size was 50. 10 times 50 equals 500. And is that less than the population of all students at his school? I'm sure it is. Okay, so that's the second one. And the third one is the sample size large enough for us to proceed with C procedures and have it be approximately normal? So 50 is n times p sub 0. The null hypothesis is what we're assuming to be true, 0.76. We want to see if this number is greater than or equal to 10. And n times q, so 50 times 1 minus 0.76, we want to see if that's greater than or equal to 10. as well. So I got 38 and 12. Those are both greater than or equal to 10. So I say thus the sampling distribution of p hat is approximately normal. And I'm allowed to proceed with the procedures. Okay, so now our assumptions are done. So we're done with P, we're done with H, we're done with A, we're going to N. The name of the test is one sample, so proportions, so one prop, Z test. And remember, if you're not sure, you can scroll through the calculator until you find it. We're done with N. Now we're going to go to the test statistic. So the formula in symbols is statistic minus parameter divided by standard deviation of the statistic. That's actually words. We're going to get to symbols in a second. Let's draw and shade the bell curve to visualize this. So in the middle, we're going to put the mean of all the p hats should equal the true proportion that we're assuming is true in the null, which is 76%. Okay? That's our null hypothesis. Now, if you go to his p hat, he got 41 divided by 50. So we did not divide that out. Let's do that now. 41 divided by 50 is 0.82. And we do see that 0.82 is greater than the 0.76, but is it statistically significantly greater? That's the question. So we're going to shade, we're going to put a line to the right, label it 0.82, and we're going to shade in the direction of the alternative, which is the greater than sign, so it's to the right. And then we're going to do our statistic p hat minus our parameter mu sub p hat, which equals p, by the way, over the standard deviation or standard error of the statistic. Okay, so that's square root of p from the null, 1 minus p over n. Okay, so let's plug in our numbers now. So the p hat was 0.82, the mean was 0.76, and we're going to do the square root of p from the null, which was 0.76, 1 minus that, over the sample size, which was, I forgot, 50. And then we're going to get a z-score, and that's going to be our test statistic, okay? So now we're going to go get our test statistic from the calculator, and then we're going to get our p-value. So now let's go to our calculator, and let's go to stat, go over to tests, go down to number 5, the one proportion z-test, and choose it. The null hypothesis is what we were assuming to be true, which was the 0.76. The x over n was the p hat that he got. So if you scroll back up to the top, the p hat he got was 41 over 50. So that's what we're going to plug in, 41 over 50. Not 41 over 50, just 41 for x, 50 for n. The direction of the alternative is a greater than sign because that's what he's presuming to be true. And then we could hit calculate or draw. The z-score is 0.99. And usually we round z-scores to 2 decimal places because we use table A to find the nearest hundredth, the z-score. And then the p-value is the second number here. It's the 0.1603. Okay. P-value is 0.1603. Okay, so there's a little notation for you, 0.1603. Okay, so now our last two steps are we're going to make a decision. Are we going to reject the null or fail to reject the null? So, because my p-value of 0.16, I forgot it already, 0.1603 is not less than alpha equals 0.05, which is the level that they specified in the question, I fail to reject the null hypothesis. When p is low, reject HO, but it's not low, you can't reject the null. So now I just say thus, I can conclude in favor of the alternative hypothesis, which says the true proportion of Instagram users at Joseph School is greater than, is indeed greater than 76%. And we're done.